So once your horse is then happy to connect and engage with you and share space, the question is now what? Now what do we do? And that's when it's important to keep things interesting for your horse as you begin to create something and create exercises and movements and asking your horse to do things. But your horse will very quickly ask you, what's in it for me? And that's when we need a really good strategy in motivating our horses. So, motivation comes in two forms. We have intrinsic motivation and we have extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is something that you do because it feels good internally. So, think about dancing or playing. Like, it doesn't have an external reward, there's no reason for doing that, it just feels good. Extrinsic motivation is when you do something to obtain something good or avoid doing or you do something to avoid something bad. So you avoid running a red light because you don't want to get fined, or you go to work because you need a paycheck. So a part of extrinsic motivation can be broken down into these four quadrants, and I'm not going to go too much into it. You're welcome to screenshot it and have a look at it in your own time. Um, But this is kind of a little bit of a breakdown of what's called operant conditioning, which is a really, really good thing to understand when it comes to motivation. Now, I like to focus on systematic positive reinforcement, which means adding something good to reinforce a particular behavior. So I use food rewards to reinforce different behaviors. And then I use what I call gentle guidance for communication and incorporating intrinsic motivation wherever possible. Now, it's important to remember with intrinsic motivation that that is in the form of like fun or feel good movements. So a portion of intrinsic motivation is not doing something for the human, doing something to please the human. We hear this a lot in the horsemanship world. He's so willing to please, or he does things just because he likes me, or just because he loves me. But that is not something that horses really compute. And there's a really big thing about that in terms of how their brain works and everything, but we're not going to really get into it. But that is not a good motivator when it comes to horses, that they should do something just because we ask them to. There needs to be a really good reason for them to want to do it, a good reason for themselves. So that it's fun or that they are reaping something good out of it. Now, when it comes to food rewards,